want people to hear this, and I'm so curious psychologically, mentally and emotionally, when you were told no, right? I mean, you guys have been on thousands of auditions. And I think, like, what Mark Ruffalo said, he was on 3,000 auditions before he booked something.
It was Brad Pitt.
I think
Either one.
Either
I'm
one.
sure both of them.
But
same here.
How do you not give up? I'm so fascinated with this mentality and the resilience that you have to not give up when you're told no so much. Or when you, I mean, I've seen both of you. You get so excited. There's a role that you're out for, and you think you got it. And then all of a sudden, or it's a pilot that's made, and you think, oh my God, this is my opportunity. This is my shot. And then it doesn't happen. How do you not give up? I want to ask you that, Jazz, and then I'll come back to you, Dad. But, how do you not give up?
I like you said, it's your passion, and it's, being an actor. And like I've always said this, whenever I'm working on, movie sets or on the stage or on TV, it never truly feels like work. I'm literally having so much fun being a character, working with the crew and the producers and everybody, the creative process. It just never really feels like work. I go home every day going, wow, I just love what I'm doing. It never feels like work, even though you're working 12, 17. I did work a 17-hour day once, 12 hours a day, usually. It's, I mean, you know the feeling, Dad. It's what's kept you going for, 50 years in the business. And that's a huge part of it. Obviously, there's a lot of work that goes into prep beforehand, and it is hard work when you're doing it, but it's so rewarding, when you get to see what you've done, when it's over, and I think, you can be really proud of yourself. And telling stories is a beautiful process, and much the same for you, Dad. I just think it's very rewarding. The friends you make, the battles you go with other people on the journey, making film and television, and I mean, that's a huge part of it.
Sorry, I mean, I even remembered last year you booked a film. I forgot what it was, but it was a network film, and then you got COVID, and you couldn't do it.
Right, that's right.
So it's like things like that. It's things that you can't really plan for.
Yeah, I was supposed to go on 2 days. I was supposed to start shooting in 2 days, and I ended up testing positive for COVID, which was a total bummer. But it's okay. It's okay the way the world works. And
but you, Jesse, and I obviously you're my twin, you're my best friend, so I've known you forever. I probably know you better than anyone, maybe except for Shelby. But but you have this innate ability to take a negative experience and to turn it into a positive experience. Where do you feel like you've learned that? You don't stay stuck in misery very long. Like, you don't stay stuck. Yeah, it's like you give yourself a day, which I always say, like, give yourself a day or give yourself a week to mourn, to grieve, to be sad, but don't stay stuck there.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Rach. I appreciate that. I think a lot of it stems from, our father's tenacity in the business and life. And, perfect example of that was when I went to China to do that movie, On Wings of Eagles with Joseph Fiennes. I mean, this was like a $12 million movie. I was in China for, almost 3 months, treated like gold. I felt like a movie star. I was literally on the side of buses and huge posters, and it was incredible. And I thought that this movie was like going to be a huge career starter for me in a way. And it was, we had a huge premiere in Beijing and in Macau. It was just, it was unbelievable. And then, I come back to the States and the movie was released and I saw it here and it was still a great movie, but, it didn't really do much for me career-wise. And obviously I was bummed about that in certain ways, but then, in other ways I'm like, yeah, I had that great experience. I learned from that. I became a better actor from it. I got to work with Joseph Fiennes, who was incredible to work
Amazing.
with. Like you, Dad, I just would watch him and I learned from that. And, part of that comes like, paying your dues. And, I feel like I'm still alive. There's lessons to be learned. If it's not this opportunity, it'll be another one. I guess the true answer is I literally have no doubts that whenever I set my mind to something that it'll eventually work out, because no matter what, anything that I've ever wanted in my life, I've always gotten, never in the time frame that I want it, but it always ends up coming.
Well, I think you cannot attach your self-worth to a job. I think our worth comes from taking actions that are aligned with our values. And I think one of your values is hard work. So if you're working hard, you feel a sense of fulfillment. And it's in your control. I think that we have to attach our worth to things that are in our control, like your ability to work hard, your ability to take control of your mind and fight back even when circumstances say no, right?
That's all the beautiful challenge. You kind of want, like, you know, certainly you, Dad, someone says no to you or you can't accomplish that, climb that mountain.
Yeah, regulation of, are you talking to me? You know, I mean, the regulation of that, you know, is like, you know, it can take you too far. But
Of course.
tenacity is, I always felt that they didn't hire me. It was their mistake.
I love when you say that. That has always stuck with me. I do believe Jesse and I have adopted this also with mommy, Vivian Kove. I love you so much.
Mom.
This belief that if we want something, we have to go and get it. And if they say no, that's your loss, right?
Yeah. And in our business, you lose a part for the most inane reason anyway.
Sure.
Because, you know, if you're a woman, you look a little bit like the producer's wife who he just divorced and took him for a ride financially.
Or you're
And
too tall.
You're
or
not going to get it because you just look just like his ex-wife. And or vice versa with a guy. But the bottom line is some of the most inane reasons, political reasons, financial reasons, they get Jesse Cove's going to take us over the budget that we really have for the actors because,
Oh, yeah, I wish.
you know, the movie's got a smaller budget. But, I mean, look what you're doing now. You know, you
Don't say anything too much. Can't say anything right
all
now.
right,
Yeah,
won't
yeah.
say now. But, you know,
I am growing my facial hair out for a certain part that I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
So, Dad, really quickly, because I know we can talk for hours, I want to wrap up this episode with you kind of just going over the Stallone story.
I always think it's great. I mean, look at you both on top
It's
at
amazing.
your age.
You're
It's,
from
it's
the same
incredible.
place, and here you are.
Well, Sly and I years ago had Kuno Spoonholtz, a manager, personal manager, who was really a clockmaker. But somehow in 1970, we ended up with him as our manager.
In New York?
In New York, right. And we started in the business around the same time. And, you know, he used to get jobs for Sly, like in the usher, as an usher in the Baronet Theater on 3rd Avenue. And he would get jobs for me like a Santa Claus in the department store, Abraham and Strauss, I remember, $180 a week. And after 2 or 3 days of kids coughing on me and sneezing on me, I had to like leave the job. It was too much. And
Which is also a very admirable job. Being Santa Claus brings a lot of joy to a lot of people.
Any
know.
job is admirable, you know?
yeah, for sure.
Not any job, obviously, but
But you know, I mean, somehow I thought it was creative to be Santa Claus, but it wasn't. I didn't want to get sick, and it was uncomfortable. But in any case, you know, and then I think Sly got Lords of Flatbush. Was it? Yeah, Lords of Flatbush. And then, you know, eventually we all went out to California at the same time and did Death Race 2000 together and Capone with Ben Gazzara.
I love that there was one, I won't say anything, but you tell it perfectly. He was reading a script and you asked him you were like, well, what is that? That's a really great piece. I love that. It's a little piece of history I love.
Well, I remember it was a couple of months after Capone. It was Death Race 2000, I think, shooting on the Ontario Speedway, California. And, you know, he and I were friends, and he was in the motorhome, and I had gone in there, and he was sitting in there, and I said, well, what are you doing? He says, he had this red script. And he says, I'm trying to get this boxing movie made. And this is like February of
amazing.
February of 75. And I think he made it like, I guess I saw it in 76. So I saw it in September 76, Rocky. So he probably got the green light sometime 6 months later in the fall with John Avildsen, who we did Karate Kid with.
You were there in that moment, seeing him read this incredible script for this movie that, again, like some of the work that changed like people's lives around the world. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I know that we're going to hear more stories from
Because the devil is crossing me.